Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and also connect on today. The Wurundjeri people and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past, present, and future. And also extend that respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples that we have here in this room today. Okay, well, we're starting. So hello, everyone. I'm Kim, and I'm a product designer, but more importantly, I'm an advocate for pineapple belonging on pizza. And as much as I would spend 6 minutes of my time convincing you why I'm right today, we're not going there. We're going to go through my journey into design and what I wish I would have known if I had started all over again. So I didn't grow up a designer. But I loved being creative. I loved studying people's behaviors. And if you ask anyone in this room that knows me, I love to yap a lot at 2 times speed. And I found a sweet spot in balancing all of that with UX design. And so like many others who were interested, I joined the UX bootcamp, graduated, and applied for a job thinking the worst was over. But the world of design had looked like this. A game of Where's Waldo, where as much as I was trying to stand out, like pineapple on pizza, I didn't. I was lost. I was so hard to spot. But with some humor, charisma, and energy, I landed my first role at NAB, which if you don't know, is a big company with an equally big and talented design team. But we'll get to that. But joining such a big organization so early on in my career also meant that it still felt like this. A game of Where's Waldo, where instead of standing out from the crowd of designers, I was standing out to a whole new crowd as they're coming in, to designers, other product owners, and other representatives across the business. I was still so hard to spot. And so the question that sparked that journey in my mind was, how do you stand out when you're still new and still trying to figure things out? Coming out of my boot camp and my university degree, I thought I had all the tools that I needed to build it all and fix it all, or at least, that's what my resume had promised. But that wasn't the case. So where did it all go wrong? I got lost. Lost trying to navigate collaboration in a hybrid work environment for the first time, thanks COVID. I got lost in a corporate jungle of ambiguity and complexity where the most scariest thing I heard was, let's take it offline. I got lost because I was trying to figure out where and when design had a voice in such a big organization. And on that note of speaking, every meeting felt like a continuous effort of translation. It was like the language of business versus the language of design versus the language of tech, and because of me, language of Gen Z, and trying to align that all together in a 30-minute meeting. How impossible. And if you haven't noticed by now, I was often the youngest person in every single room. And that meant that the pressure to say yes to everything was how I thought I was going to stand out from the very beginning. But that also meant saying yes to opportunities away from the limelight, and yes to decisions that actually compromise user experiences. When AI became the new revolution, being in a big bank meant that I had restricted access to these new tools and capabilities. So I struggled a lot with the FOMO when it came to emerging tech. And so it was like I was watching the world go by without me. Look, these struggles aren't new. If anything, some people would say it's part of joining a new field or joining corporate in general. But in today's world where we face the highest levels of uncertainty, increasing competition, and frankly, a more disconnected world, it's becoming more important for our junior designers today to stand out quicker than ever before. So if I could offer a few words of wisdom to my younger self when I started, where you start is so important in building your foundation and your confidence as a designer. And I was so fortunate to have started with NAB. Because not only did I have an access to a great, diverse, talented community of designers, I also had a great culture to speak up and leadership who was so proactive and trying to give me a voice, all of which are qualities I would have looked for if I hadn't been so lucky. My next tip is to embrace getting lost to be found. And if you were in Simon Banks' talk this morning, it's sitting yourself in the ambiguity and being curious, because I was able to find connections who could get me out of being lost. And those connections have led me to being on stage here today and presenting in front of all of you, but also to an AI hackathon outside of design, where being the only designer in that room, I was able to use design thinking to lead and lead discussions that left a lasting impression on my teammates, although it doesn't really look like that in that photo. My next tip is I did say yes. It's like a knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, do you want something? Yeah. But I was a bit more selective with where I committed my time. I said yes to opportunities to make an impact and be someone that others could rely on. And early on, it's very self-starting. So when I noticed that our designers had inconsistent Figma file structures that made it hard to hand over work and work consistently with others, I took it upon myself to research and interview every designer I could. And there were 3 things that I learned from this experience. 1, you become more memorable when you solve people's problems for them. 2, you form more meaningful conversations when you let people rant about their problems and they become more honest. And 3, a file can tell you so much about how a designer thinks through their process and collaborates with their team. So not only did I become a better designer and collaborator, I became someone that now others could rely on and make a lasting impact on my team. So as much as first impressions matter, so do lasting impressions. And what you'll see here is one of the most memorable moments that I've had and shared with my team. Being able to create opportunities for my team to bond beyond our 4 white walls made collaborating with them, regardless if it was online or offline, fun, easy, and fast. And this also was one of the most colorful moments of my career. So we go back to where it all started, overwhelmed, not sure where to start. I was just really hard to spot because of the people in that crowd. But ironically, through the connections I've made with those people, through the lasting impressions that I have had on them, they've made my voice harder to ignore. So where I initially was hard to spot, because of them, I become harder to ignore. And I hope that all of you take this great opportunity we have here to not only make meaningful, but memorable connections today. Thank you so much for listening to me. I'm Kim. And I'll get to know all of you as well later on today. Thank you so much.